It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Jeff Frye, a retired MLB baseball player. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to play baseball in college and then move on to professionals?
Well, actually, I went to college to play basketball first, and I realized pretty quickly that with my height, that I didn't have much of a chance, to play beyond college. So I figured I better just put my attention to baseball and focus on that.
Can you talk about, of course, getting drafted into the MLB and what that was like for you?
Yeah, that was really cool. It was it's when I was in junior college. After my sophomore year, my head coach, Mark Pollard, called me in his office and said, "Hey, I think you're a year away." And I said, "From what, coach?" He goes, "From getting drafted." I said, "By the Army?" And he goes, "No, you idiot, by professional baseball." And I was like, "Man, you're crazy. I'll never be that good." And then 2 years later, I finished my senior year and was pretty sure I wasn't going to get drafted. And I went to a tryout camp with a teammate of mine's invitation and had a great day and made an impression and ended up getting drafted.
That's so amazing. How was it getting drafted from high school?
Well, it was from college. I got drafted out of college after my senior year in college. Man, it was cool. It was a dream come true. This is the chance of a lifetime that I never thought I would get.
Can you talk about, of course, playing for the Texas Rangers and what that was like?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to make it to the big leagues with the team that drafted you. That's your kind of your. Although I didn't grow up a Rangers fan, um, I grew up a San Francisco Giants fan. But anytime, it's like immediately when you get drafted by a team, that's your new favorite team. So making it to the big leagues as a Texas Ranger was really cool.
Do you remember the first time you appeared in a game in July of 2009? I mean, July 9th in 1992.
Oh yeah, this guy behind me on the wall here. I show up to the stadium and I got there at 5:30 and the game was at 7. And they said, "Go look at the lineup." And I went and looked at the lineup, and I was playing second, leading off, and Nolan Ryan was pitching for us that day. So I was right into the fire, man. I didn't have enough time to get nervous.
That's so amazing. What were some of your accomplishments with the Texas Rangers?
Well, my first year, I didn't really have a great year. My first year, I hit like 256, I think, but I was named Rangers Rookie of the Year, so that was cool. Then I hurt my knee that off season, missed the next season. 94, I had the best season average wise in my career. I hit 327, and then played there a couple more years, and then I moved on to Boston.
Can you talk about, of course, your experience at Boston Red Sox?
Yeah, I mean, that was great. The best years of my career were in Boston, and it was just it's just a totally different environment than what I had played in previously in Texas. It was just, the Red Sox Yankee rivalry was huge, and it's just a lot more pressure to play under playing back there than there was in Texas.
Can you elaborate more on the Yankee Red Sox rivalry and what that felt like to you to play against them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we hated each other. We really did, and it was like, although we didn't really have any animosity toward the guys and, for personal reasons, it was just almost we weren't supposed to like them. And so anytime we took the field against the Yankees, the win was just felt more important than a win against another team. And they had some great teams in the mid to late 90s. And, I got to compete against all those guys, Derek Jeter and Bernie Williams and Posada, Roger Clemens. Man, they had some great players over there.
Can you talk about, of course, your time with the Colorado Rockies and what that was like?
Yeah, I was only there for 2 months. I got traded out of Boston. I kind of had I said something in the media about the general manager, and sure enough, they traded me. And I spent 2 months in Boston. 2 months in Colorado, and I did well. I hit 356 for the Rockies, and I was fortunate enough to play with some really good guys and players. Todd Helton and Larry Walker just made the Hall of Fame, and hopefully Helton does. But Jeffrey Hammonds and Jeff Cirillo and Brett Maine, just a bunch of good guys that I enjoyed playing with for a couple months.
Can you talk about, of course, the process of getting transferred? Transferred to different teams and traded.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because you get comfortable where you're at, and then you just got to load up everything and move to a new city and a new clubhouse and new teammates. Usually some of the guys, or maybe your paths have crossed at some point, but a lot of pressure because you feel like you have to impress them. You have to try and make an immediate impact, and it's really not the case, but you can't help but feel that pressure that you put on yourself.
Can you talk about, of course, your time with the Toronto Blue Jays?
Yeah, I was there in 2001 is my last year in the big leagues, and I was injured really pretty much the whole season. My knee was bothering me, and I didn't have a great season, but I played the whole season in the big leagues. Well, I actually started, I think, the first 4 days in extended spring because of my injury, but then once I got called up, I stayed there, and had a one great day. I think it was August 17th where I hit for the cycle. So that was pretty much the highlight of the year for me.
Can you talk about, of course, the preparation it took from, of course, being at Oklahoma, playing in college, to making it to the MLB?
Oh yeah, it was tough. It was a big learning curve, man. It was, in Oklahoma, I was one of the better players in my college and in our conference and in the state for that matter. And then in my first year in pro ball, it was like, I'm not sure I'm as good as any of these guys, and it was just, it took a while to kind of fit in and feel comfortable to where I felt like I didn't have to try to do anything special, just do what I've done my whole life. And eventually it kind of worked out.
What are some of your accomplishments that you have achieved while playing MLB baseball?
Well, the most important is getting called up to the big leagues, and the second most important is staying in the big leagues for a long period of time. During that time, I had some pretty memorable games. I had walk-off home run in Fenway Park, a walk-off single off John Wetland of the Yankees in Fenway. Like I said earlier, I hit for the cycle in Toronto. I think a game in Texas, I had two triples in one game, which is like a very rare feat.
Can you talk about, of course, the time transitioning from playing professional baseball to retiring and figuring out what to do after baseball?
Yeah, that's tough, man. It was just I kind of just jumped right in with both feet. I retired from baseball, and less than a year later, I became a sports agent. Joined up with a friend of mine, and kind of had to pick as many people's brains as I could to find out how this business works. And I've been doing it for 19 years, so I'm somewhat figured out how it works. I still haven't figured out everything.
Can you talk about, of course, being a sports agent? Are you only a sports agent for baseball, or are you a sports agent for all sports?
Just baseball. And I made a couple boo-boos, I think, along the way. I went, and a friend of mine's a professor at TCU, and so I've gone quite a few times and talked to his all sports class. It's a bunch of athletes from all different sports. And after I talked to him one day, one of the guys came up to me and said, "Hey, would you ever consider representing a football player?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would." I said, "But it's a different set of rules, and I don't really know the rules, and I'd probably be doing you a disservice if I did that." He said, "Okay, well, I appreciate it." And just so happens his name is Andy Dalton. He's been in the NFL about 15 years, and if I had a chance to represent him, that'd have been pretty good.
That's so amazing. Who are some of the notable people that you have represented as a sports agent?
Darren Oliver, Ian Kinsler, Mark Lowe, Sean Kelly, Adam Moore, Joey Butler, Colt Hines, Jonah Heim, who got called up this past season, just got traded to Texas Rangers. I had represented Jonah since high school. There's a few more sprinkled in there, but those are big names.
Can you talk about, of course, the life as a baseball sports agent and what it's like?
Yeah, it's cutthroat. It's cutthroat, and it's a pretty nasty business. And I always tell people that I'm too nice, too honest to be a sports agent, but I guess when you've been doing something as long as I have, it's kind of hard to get out of it. So it's very rewarding when a guy you've represented like Jonah Heim from New York, when I represented him from high school through the minors, and he gets his call up to the big leagues. It's a big thrill. It's almost like I made the big leagues.
As a sports agent, whenever you do have those players that get called up, can you talk about, of course, what it feels like for you as the sports agent?
Yeah, it feels like I made the big leagues, but I guess the downside of that is now every other agent in the industry is probably calling my client saying that I don't know what I'm doing and he needs a new agent. So, and that's the tough part of the business. That you'd think that people would be happy for your, the success of your client and hopefully your business, but it doesn't really work that way.
What is something that you learn now that you didn't know before you started as a sports agent?
I guess that aspect, just that it's so cutthroat and that people will pretend like they're your friend, and the minute you walk away, they're trying to figure out a way how they can get in touch with your client, and it just doesn't seem, I just don't operate that way. I just kind of take somebody for their word and think they're going to respect that you're representing somebody.
Has it been easier being a sports agent for, of course, baseball, since you've played it like basically all your life and you know how the professional world works?
Yeah, I think so. And a lot of people ask me that about, well, are you an attorney? I was like, no. I mean, I learned, I got my experience dealing with agents the 15 years of my career. And, I picked things that I enjoyed about my representation and things that I thought were, they did wrong or mishandled. And, I just apply those things to my representation now.
What advice would you give upcoming baseball players looking to make it into the professionals?
Work hard, outwork the competition. That's number one. You got to outwork the competition, and you got to believe in yourself and just give it everything you have. And at the end of the day, if you don't make it, you won't have any regrets.
Do you foresee yourself one day being into the Baseball Hall of Fame?
No, buddy, I can't. I mean, I have to play about 10 more years, and I'm 54, so I don't see that happening. I wish.
What advice would you give upcoming sports agents looking to get started?
Don't do it. No. Honestly, it's tough. I mean, you better love the game and be able to handle disappointments, because there's a lot in this game. And I tell a lot of times when I'm talking to my clients and their parents, I was like, don't try to figure this stuff out. I've been doing this 15 years playing, 19 years as an agent, and I still can't figure this stuff out. So don't try and figure it out, and just do your best, and hopefully it works out for you.
That's amazing. Thank you again, Jeff, for your interview, and best of luck. And where can my listeners find you at on social media?
At 03 Jeff Frye on Twitter. It's an O, not a 0. You can find me under Certified Hitting Guru on Instagram, and then Jeff Frye on Facebook, and I'm also on LinkedIn.
Thank you again, Jeff, for your interview, and best of luck as a sports agent.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it, buddy. You have a good night.
You too. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Jeff, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thanks, Brandon. See you later, buddy.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.